I have ADHD, and growing up was a nightmare at times. I would never do my homework, I would be distracted all the time, and nothing would ever get done. My parents spent years trying to figure out what was going on and if I was going to grow out of it or not, because the same patterns kept showing up over and over again. Now I work at my family's specialized academy for neurodivergent kids, and I see parents ask this question every single time. Is this normal? Is this ADHD? Is this something completely different? So here's what I wish my parents knew in the past and what I've learned from the academy so that you can know what are the right questions to be asking yourself if your kid is in this situation. Because I feel like most parents are confused in the middle when things are not too bad, but they're also not very clear at all. I see so many parents stuck in this gray area where they're trying to figure out what's going on with their kid. So there are three things to look at to make sense of this behavior: the context, the pattern, and the impact. Because I think the most important thing is to be able to see clearly what is the issue going on. So the first layer is context. Usually behavior is where stress signals start showing up first. If my parents were stressed out, if there was tension at home, I would frequently act out. And at the academy, I see this constantly. Kids often will react the same way their parents do to the situation. If you're tense, burned out, it usually will also affect the kid as well. So these stressful or conflict-heavy environments will cause stress and anxiety for your kid as well. Another big one is sleep, fatigue, and basic need. This one's really huge specifically for ADHD. When I didn't sleep well as a kid, I was completely dysregulated. Everything that would happen to me would make me either upset or it'd be super hard for me to transition, and it was super easy for me to melt down on things that were not very big. Because at the time I didn't know this, but poor sleep leads to mood swings and overreactions emotionally. Sleep loss can affect your hunger and your energy regulation. At the academy, when we usually dig into their routine, we can find that inconsistent sleep is a big factor of why their system is completely overloaded. Also, kids have different levels of sensitivity. Some kids are going to be more reactive to their environment than most. For example, a child who gets bad sleep is just grumpy, whereas someone with ADHD, they can't get anything done at all. So it's very important to be aware of their sleep, their routines, their demands at school, because that's the first place that'll show up in that context. So a question you can ask yourself is, if I zoom out 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after whatever happened, what was my emotional state then and what was my kid's emotional state? That's where you'll be able to find the answers. Layer 2 is pattern. A lot of times there's going to be a single moment that feels super urgent, but what you really should be focusing on is the pattern. Behavior matters more when it becomes more regular, it becomes bigger, and it lasts months instead of a week or two. The three pattern questions you should be asking yourself is, how often does it happen? Does it happen once a month, once a week, once a day, multiple times a day? That is a big factor. Secondly, is it big? Is anyone getting hurt? Is the child unreachable or unsafe? And then lastly, how long does this last? Does it last minutes, hours, days? And there's also quiet versus loud patterns. Some kids become more withdrawn while other kids become more vocal. I was a kid that was a little bit more withdrawn and wanted to keep myself in distractions to not have to deal with what I had to deal with in that day. Both can be signals of stress, especially when they repeat, and quiet patterns are often very hard to notice, so it's crucial to be aware of this, because in time it can affect their learning, their friendships, and their overall day-to-day life. When you look at the past few weeks, you should be looking at how much is this actually occurring, what is happening before or after, and is this happening way more often or not, and what type of behavior are you noticing the most from your child. Now this gets to layer 3, which is impact. What matters most is their daily skills, their daily functioning, their relationships, and how they function day to day. Impact can definitely vary by context. Sometimes one situation is completely fine while the context makes it not okay, because traits like high energy or intense focus can be great until they start blocking daily functioning, because a child can be different from their peers but still be doing well off. Because the real question to be asking is, can this still go on without burning out everyone, and is their quality of life the best it can be considering their situation? Here are 5 impact areas to be on the watch for. Firstly, learning and access to school. Can they engage with instruction in a learning environment? For me, it was especially difficult because I didn't want to sit down or be still. I wanted to do my own thing. Number 2, friendship and a sense of belonging. Are they building relationships and feeling a sense of belonging? For me, it was incredibly difficult for me to build social relationships because I had so much energy back then, which definitely affected my confidence. Number 3, emotional regulation and recovery. How intense are reactions and how long do they last? When do they actually come back? It's not about if they ever lose it, it's about how frequently are they losing it and how long does it take them to be able to recover from that. For ADHD kids specifically, it matters a lot. Number 4, daily routines and independence. These were really hard for me as a kid because being able to transition to the next thing from the next was hard. I wanted to do the thing that I wanted to do, and it didn't matter what anyone said to me. And at the academy, we see that kids can do the work, but a lot of times they struggle with the transition. And number 5 is parent stress and burnout. Exhaustion, guilt, and loss of patience that comes with frequent behavior. When behavior has been hard for a long time, it creates a loop. When your child is upset, it makes you more impatient, and you're less likely to be able to meet their needs in that moment because of that loop that gets worse and worse. Because your stress is a very important factor because, again, it affects the child. So you always want to be asking, is this limiting their learning, their participation, their friendships? Is it interfering with their independence and routines? And asking yourself, is this sustainable for your child and your family? Because how we interpret the behavior depends on how we respond to it. Every kid is different and they respond to different situations differently. A lot of times parents think that their child is having an issue, but usually we'll dig into their routine, their stress, their sleep, or the situation, and many times it's stress from home or at school. After analyzing the context, the patterns, and the impact, that makes it way more easier to make clear questions that get you closer to make a decision. Because once you can ask more clear questions, you can have a better conversation of what is important or not. A really great grounded question you can ask yourself specifically is, if this same behavior went on for 6 months, would this affect my kids' learning, independence, or routines in a negative way? Because uncertainty comes with parenting. Many times we don't know what's going on, but being able to look at these 3 factors gives you clarity. If this helped you think more clearly, I'll be making more videos on this topic and how to break down what is going on so that you could be able to make the best decisions for your child. I've been that neurodivergent child. I've seen the problems happen. I've seen my own behavior, and I want to give you, the parent, tools and advice that I wish that my parent had when I was a kid. Thank you so much for watching.